Hello, and welcome to TV Chef Fantasy League. I am your host and Commissioner Sierra Cato, here with my co-host, Ifi Wadiwe.
Hello.
We don't have Mike today because he's getting married. Yay!
Which, I know you're feeling right now. Yeah, we weren't invited to the wedding ceremony. Wow.
I mean, I think in spirit we're there. We're in Portugal.
No, we're not. We're not. We're getting text messages from,
we're not. We're here
Mike down in Portugal, munching up, enjoying a good time.
As somebody who, planned a wedding in the past, it is, especially with the, and also
point,
did it.
But at that point, we weren't close enough.
We weren't close. I met you guys when I had already sent out invites. You know what I mean?
We had this whole marinated year
to
get closer.
I
think we should be in the wedding party.
Oh, whoa, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We should be part of the ceremony.
Yeah.
We should be getting married to them.
We should be behind Mike.
Massaging him. Oh, right.
That's part of this. You got this.
It's part of the responsibilities of the party is massage during ceremony.
Yeah. So
I believe. Well, we'll discuss this when he gets back.
We definitely won't. I'm gonna keep this.
I hope
I'm going to talk about it here. We know he's not going to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the tension build, and y'all will be able to see. It'll be like when you're reading a book and you can hear like the narrator's thoughts.
Oh, right.
And there, so you know what's happening before the person in it happens. So
whoa, that's exciting. A little peek behind the drama here at TV Chef Fantasy League. Well, I want to address too that we've got a nice little studio upgrade here.
Yeah.
For those who know Maximum Fun, I've been watching other Max Fun in studio shows. You might already know this, but there's a beautiful new shelf. Yeah. We have a squirrel now. There's lots of this Top Chef Quickfire Challenge game is front and center, and hopefully is in for every show.
Yeah,
not just ours. Microphone thing.
Microphone, yeah. I thought this was like, is this an award or is it?
I hope so.
No, it just looks like a metal microphone.
Just decoration, a metal chromed out microphone.
Because how would you know this is a podcast if you didn't see a metal microphone?
Right.
And also, just to our forever audio listeners, you might be like, "What are y'all talking about?" Guess what? You can come see it on the YouTube.
Yeah. YouTube. Look up TV Chef Fantasy League and follow, subscribe. You get the full visual of who we are.
Visual, full flavor. Get to see the different outfits I choose to wear.
Ifi always comes with multiple great pieces. You've got a Sunday Club hat.
Yeah.
You've got a Metal Gear Solid shirt.
Yep.
I have no affiliations with any logos or brands.
But I feel like that's like a comedian look.
Okay,
like
button down, but
it's
the mic. Here we are. So this is what we bring to the table if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yeah.
This week is a bye week because MasterChef is taking a little break because of the holiday, I suppose. So no MasterChef discussion specifically, but we are going to talk about something maybe more exciting, which is fictional chefs. I'm talking in television, in media, in movies.
Yes.
Who are some of our favorite fictional chefs or like food depictions even? Because I was thinking maybe it's a show where they're cooking at home.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not technically chefs, but that looked really delicious. Obviously, we'll discuss my favorite, Ratatouille, which I did do a rewatching in preparation, actually.
Yeah, we had to save it for the air. Val was like, stop it right now. Because we already started some hefty debate on whether, who's the chef there? Is it Remy or is it what's the name of the man?
Linguini. That's a hilarious question because I think it's pretty clear in the movie that it's Remy.
What makes it clear in the movie?
So probably just the whole arc of the movie, meaning let's talk about a little bit of the themes. Themes are anyone can cook, right? So you have this rat who he is meant to do something. He's got it in his soul. He loves to eat and put together great delicious things, but he's born a rat.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, oh shit, but then he pairs up with Linguini, who I think the quote is something like has the ability to appear human. That's basically what Linguini brings to the table. Yeah. On top of having hair that can control his mechanisms, which is a little well,
it seems like he's a human
over.
That knows can figure out what the rat wants him to do based on the hair pull.
The hair pull. So if all humans in this world have hair pull ability, then he's not that special. Mm-hmm. But I would say what makes Linguini special is that he's open to working with this rat. Yeah. They have a very clear kind of what's that called? Symbiosis, where it's like, Linguini needs this job. They set up that he's got so many jobs. He finally got this garbage boy job. Like, I just need to work here. He accidentally makes this soup that's really good and has to replicate it for his boss. So he gets the rat to help him out, team up, because the rat is the one with the chef brain.
Okay, the more you talk about it, the more I get stronger in my opinion that Linguini's the real chef and Ratatouille is just.
I'm not explaining this correctly.
So who made the soup? Ratatouille.
Ratatouille, who's Remy, but yes, he's a rat.
Okay,
but Ratatouille's the dish, I guess. But it's a very catchy
Remy
title.
makes the soup.
Yeah,
and then Linguini takes the soup and gives it to him.
So. Remy makes this soup because Linguini screwed it up. He knocked it over. Linguini's just a garbage boy. He shouldn't be cooking, right? He knocked it over in order to cover his own ass. He starts filling it with water, making it horrible. Remy spots this. He's like, this is disgusting. It's going to be disgusting. I can already tell what you're putting in there. That's not right. So Remy fixes it himself, and then the soup accidentally gets served to a patron. Just through miscommunication in the kitchen. And then that customer is like, oh, this is so good. I love this soup. So Remy saved the day.
Okay. With his bare hands, he cooked that dish.
Did in that time.
Okay.
At that time.
But then since he goes in the hat.
And
he is essentially giving directions to Linguini.
He's operating him like a mech suit,
Yeah. But we know what it is. It may be a mech suit. It could be the Morse code. It could be taps. He is giving him direction.
Sure.
And Linguini is performing this cooking.
This is true.
And is Linguini super dumb as to where he would forget this and he would never be able to make these dishes on his own after?
No, that's true. Okay, that is true, and we're gonna allow some rebuttal to my thing because Val has written in. Val unfortunately is not recording a track right now. Already, she regrets it, but she said the story of Remy and Linguini is a story about collaboration. The unit doesn't work without both of them, and they have to learn to work together. Obviously, Ratatouille is a mech story. Okay, I understand that, and I think that's a very valid thing.
Val's cooking. So you're making whatever Linguini made that first time with too much water. Val made the
already
Remy
a
soup,
metaphor.
And I'm slurping it up.
Whoa, damn! All right, the soup has been served. Okay,
because
listen.
The reason, and it's so fun bringing this up here on our pod, is because essentially what Remy does in Ratatouille is what we have Gordon Ramsay doing in MasterChef, right? And then these people go on and become great chefs because Gordon.
There is a protege element, sure.
Yeah, and you're teaching them how to cook well and correctly.
Sorry, so Val says it's an Evangelion, sorry, yes. Don't know the reference. But got it, okay.
Yeah, because the Evangelion, they're biosuits. They're not fully mechanical. Which great pull, Val. Once again, liking your soup.
Wow. All right.
Liking your soup. The soup
I can see that.
I will making stinky. Stinky. I would throw that protein.
Okay. Okay. A lot of pressure, but I will come back with something more. Oh, yeah. So I think what we have to also acknowledge here is Remy the Rat, by the end of the movie, is ultimately he comes out of the hat and Linguini gives him the stage and he tells everybody, this is what's going on. I've been controlled by a rat. Spoilers, sorry. He tells all his kitchen, the sous chef, the saucier, this is where we learn about all that. He tells them all, listen, I've been controlled by a rat. That's the deal here. We're serving the intense critic, Anton Ego. And tonight, I just need you to listen to the rat because that's how we're going to get through this. And the rat, Remy, eventually, basically, all the staff quits except for Colette, voiced by Janine Garofalo. Very exciting. She is...
And do they leave because they're disgusted by the rat or because they think he's crazy?
You don't really know. I'd assume the crazy is probably it because it's such a crazy thing. But... we don't really get the full reasoning in their heads. They just leave. They resign and they leave. So what happens is Remy then calls in all of his rat friends to then go through sterilization. I mean, like cleaning. Sorry, not like sterilization of reproduction, but cleaning. They go under the dishwasher and they're all puffy and they're all cute and they help him with the mechanism of just being like lots of hands, like cook, and they take the place of the human crew. So what it tells me is, hey, he could actually be a chef without the body thing. The body thing was good in that moment.
Well, also we're seeing in this world, since we're talking about the world, all these rats know how to cook.
I mean, he's directing them. No, they don't. They don't have his taste. They don't have. He's telling them, put that there, cut it like this. But yes, eventually, they figure out how to chop. I mean, I'm not sure. He still has Colette and he still has Linguini, who are human. But yeah, basically, it shows that he can without all humans. If the world were accepting of rats cooking, he would be fine. But it's not. So he has to put on the body, quote unquote, of an acceptable, human in order to get his food recognized by humans.
Yeah, I mean, it's very funny you should say that last part, because even knowing it's the Disney movie, Disney magic, I think I still wouldn't eat his food. I'd be like, get Linguini back in here. I don't want your...
It is pretty nasty. Like the shots of the rats, like masses of rats, like sweeping the kitchen is like pretty nasty.
Yeah, even though they're cute. I love rats. Actually, I had a pet rat, Montague, rest in peace.
Oh shit!
I would not let him make me breakfast.
Okay, yeah.
That shows. I see how Montague be moving.
Okay,
Montague be moving mad crazy.
Right.
And you're telling me. I don't know.
Montague.
I don't know if I've been won over by Ratatouille yet.
Sure, I think, but maybe that's your bias as a human against rats.
Yeah.
And we have to open our hearts because anyone can cook.
Do you think that they didn't make a sequel because they thought Ratatouille with the letter 2 in the middle of it would be too on the nose?
I mean, they still can. That's the reality, because they're going to make, they're like maybe making Incredibles 3. Elio came out, and everybody didn't like it I haven't seen it. And so maybe it's my own fault. But yeah, it's a movie called Elio or Elio about like a little boy who gets abducted by aliens. And it's unfortunately a flop in the box office. It's an original. So Pixar and Disney are kind of like, no more originals. We just got to do like, Moana 6.
I just don't think now's the climate for abduction stories.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't think of that.
Like,
you're right. Maybe nobody wants
to
see that.
Go to the movies and see that.
That's true.
Right now,
we got that anywhere.
Yeah.
You walk outside, you got that. So I don't need to go see it animated in 3D. But yeah, who knows what there are definitely I think there's a possibility Ratatouille could still happen.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, well, so Remy is one of your cool chefs that you like. That is, I think. Have you heard of the anime Food Wars?
No.
I've kind of cursorily seen it as a nerd, but I haven't watched it because like everyone's like, you eat the food and you get horny, and I was like, that's just, I don't need those sounds coming out of my house. But I think I want to really get into it. I joke, but like I think it seems very fun. And then I thought I was thinking of Food Wars, but actually. Do you remember when KFC did a dating simulator? Oh gosh, no. So KFC did a dating simulator where, and are you familiar with dating simulators as a whole?
I don't know if I am. Then you ask like that.
These are they're like a genre of video game where usually it's text based and you have the characters. Like Dream Daddy was the really popular one that I think broke mainstream, but it's actually pretty popular in Japan. There's some like Doki Doki host club. I think Doki Doki.
Literature club.
Yep.
Nice,
I knew.
Nice. Good.
Look, I knew Gabe was a fucking weeb. I don't know why I'm whispering. It's right in his ears.
He's pointing to a tattoo.
Is that Hamtaro?
This is Pochita from Chainsaw.
Oh, Pochita. Yeah, now I see it. Yeah, I know. Hamtaro. And I've seen the Pochita. Yeah, that's a fellow weep there. But yeah, Doki Doki Literature Club is it's a horror one. And it is jarring in the best way because it's very much, here we go. I'm wearing the Metal Gear Solid shirt. Are you familiar with the Psycho Mantis fight?
No.
Okay, Psycho Mantis fight in Metal Gear Solid was wild because he was a character in this game where you're infiltrating, and he would read information and talk to you as the player. He would read your memory card and be like, I see you like playing Madden.
Oh, ew.
And it was like very creepy because his whole thing was his psychological thing. And to beat him, you had to plug your controller from the player 1 to the player 2.
Oh my god.
And so like it's and that's kind of what Doki Doki Literature Club is kind of like spoilers, I'd say skip a couple seconds if you want to play it and don't want this spoiler. Okay, I shouldn't pause.
Sure, don't skip right to you.
Yeah, so skip. I'm gonna say it. I'm skip. Sorry, I paused. I messed it up. But
it's complicated.
Skip. Yeah, it's complicated. But you have to delete game files
to
beat the like evil person. It's like it's really it's really cool. But sorry, I say all that to give you the background of like it's text based. Cool. You usually kind of bounce around like a location, and it's through kind of talking to different characters you want to romance that you like, you know, progress, and you're usually trying to like get someone. And this one is all about trying to romance the Colonel, and it's this like hot anime version of the Colonel, which I'm gonna pull up for you. And that was really it was really fun to play, and I think the Colonel in that was very fun. And then you had like a cooking rival, because you were all in cooking school.
Oh, were they also trying to romance the Colonel, or just
no? They just wanted to be better. Yeah, it was called "I Love You, Colonel Sanders."
Oh,
and it was a video game, and this is what he looked like.
Oh yeah, very. They've made him younger looking, I would say, a little taller.
Yeah, but it's very fun. So I think that was one of my favorite chefs, even though I wasn't able to get him to fall in love with me.
That's okay.
It's very hard.
It's hard. I think that makes him more desirable. You know, it's like, he's not, couldn't even get him to fall in love with me. So otherwise you would be like, I forgot him already, you know? Possibly.
Yeah, I was loading up my next chef. In
yeah.
That's why I got
I can go if, but yeah, no, you if you have one off the top of your head, go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I don't mean to put the pressure on you.
Not only are we gonna bring up our favorite chefs, but I'm always gonna question their ability as a chef. That's why I came.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah,
KFC in this anime, we'll say he's good because he has anime powers, and that's broken.
Sure,
but Remy, once again, I'm like, linguine.
Right, without linguine, that's also, what you're wondering.
Also, just so I probably should just watch this. I wonder, Naomi's listening. I wonder if she's like, I gotta watch that film.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's a good watch. Yeah, of that time for sure.
Do they like in the end? They're like, we are okay with the rat feeding us.
Yes, definitely. I think, and then look, he's he shows washing his hands, and they've been sterilized in hot water.
You need to wash way more than your hands, and
he walks on his hind legs, so it's not like feet. It's not like on the ground. Your hands that you're cooking with. That helps.
Honestly, he would just need to dye his fur. Like that color of his fur just
interesting.
Kind of screams.
Okay. That could help. Yeah,
bubonic.
He could. Okay, yeah, he could.
It's giving bubonic.
Style it. Okay, it's giving bubonic. Wow. Yeah. No. Okay. If you haven't seen it, you should just go for it.
Yeah.
I think it'll definitely highlight what exactly he brings to the table.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. It definitely is like, I'm sure I'm gonna love it, and it's a type. I love the like Disney Pixar joints all the time. Anyway, I don't know if that's specifically a Pixar joint.
It is,
but it just kind of fell through the cracks, and I think that I think that's the thing about being a nerd, because everyone's always like, how did you miss this movie? How did you miss this? I was like, there are so many levels of media I'm ingesting, because there's movies, TV, anime, which technically is TV and movies, but
is kind of
video
category.
Games. Comic books, novels, sci-fi novels.
Oh,
and I think just in playing like the tabletop games that I play.
Sure, that's
so like something can fall through the crack, and if I don't make a big thing to see, like I really want to watch the 28 Years Later.
Yeah.
But I need to watch 28 Days in 28 Weeks, which I know is great.
Oh, wow. Okay, I totally didn't realize there was a 28 weeks, but that makes sense.
Wait, did you jump from days to years?
No, I haven't seen any of it. But I also was in the same boat. It was like, I really do want to see 28 years. Got to watch 28 Days. Am I ready to watch that? But then I didn't realize I'd have to watch 28 weeks.
Well, like John Murphy snapped on that soundtrack. I still listen to it when I do like writing. My soundtrack to writing is a lot of soundtracks. And that one is good. It was also used in the movie Kick-Ass.
Oh, wow.
That I remember. But I specifically know it because there was a Steam source mod that was a zombie game that was so fun. I think they need to just kind of make it. But it was like all these players and like one zombie in this huge map, and like it was just like if you got scratched, you would eventually turn to a zombie. So obviously the tides turn, and it's like trying to survive till the very end of the timer without the zombies winning. But in the intro, they played that song too.
Oh, nice. I mean, speaking of songs to write to, I feel like Ratatouille soundtrack has some good ones in there.
I'll be the judge.
It's very, it takes place in Paris.
Yeah.
cuisine, the capital of cuisine or whatever, they do all that. So I feel like if you like those kinds of styles of sounds.
I'm sure it's
got that classical whatever's going on over there. Anyway, but yes, okay, fascinating. But yes, I mean, there's so much stuff, so we can't watch it all. I will also say I like to watch things and then I rewatch them. So it's like the time I could be using to watch new and learn new things. I'm like, I got to watch Ratatouille again. I don't know. All right, another chef I could put out there.
Okay.
Spongebob Squarepants.
Okay. I thought Remy was wild. I think we got even wilder.
I'm also trying to be like, he's, even if people haven't seen, because we'll cover some others, but these are broad ones, right? Like everybody knows who that is, right?
You're trying to,
culturally known. But SpongeBob SquarePants, obviously, Krabby Patty, Flippin' Patties.
Well,
Secret Recipe. He's cooking.
Like, I think there was a point where they kind of like proved that SpongeBob wasn't the key. It's the secret patty formula, right?
Sure. He's essentially a line cook, right?
Because I remember Plankton kidnapped him and was trying to force him to cook. And I think they made it more that he wasn't happy. That's why it wasn't good. But I'm like, bro, you can't chef up without this formula, huh?
And he doesn't, right. And the formula, I know this is I haven't watched SpongeBob recently, but they have not revealed what exactly this formula was. It's more of like a MacGuffin. It's like a fun thing that they keep returning to. That being said, it's like he knows the formula in his head, so that is good. Like he could potentially replicate it if he were a bad actor trying to undermine Mr. Krabs, but he'd never do that. But I do think that he brings a certain, like he's not happy or whatever. Like when he's bringing his SpongeBob ethos to the patty. Yeah. That's also kind of part of it, right?
Oh yeah.
So it could be argued that he is part of the secret recipe itself.
Yeah. I mean, he's credited as one of the inventors of the...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. That's pretty high up there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're talking about the Krabby. So it says the Krabby Patty contains both the top bun and the bottom bun, with the top bun containing sesame seeds. It also contains sea cheese, sea lettuce, and sea tomatoes.
Yum.
Pickles, regular pickles, ketchup,
Nazi pickles,
mustard, mayonnaise, and sea onions, all of which can be seen on the Krabby Patty is being made. As well as all of those ingredients are the patty and the secret sauce, both of which have unknown ingredients, particularly the patty. So
sure. I mean, I always assumed it's whatever mush is in the patty, right?
Yeah. So
seasoning or otherwise.
In the Great Patty Caper, the following ingredients are confirmed: flour, barnacle shavings, and turmeric.
Oh, turmeric!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Yeah, that's a good one in there. It's healthy for you. It's good for you. So they're, watching out for the health of their customers. We appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he's certainly not it's not a high end establishment, except for when what's his name, Squilliam Fancy Son comes in.
Yeah.
You guys like that episode? But yeah, so it's kind of a nice balance. We have Ratatouille. He's on the upper end of things. We've got KFC anime Colonel, who's kind of in the middle, I suppose. He seems a little fancier than just your regular Colonel, and then we got kind of your everyday grab and go Krabby Patty, SpongeBob.
Yeah, and you know what? I was giving you shit about SpongeBob. I'd say it is just the Colonel. Like the whole game, he's talking about the herbs and spices that are in the chicken. So he. Yeah, and the Krabby Patty formula has never been revealed. So
yeah, it's similarly under lock and key.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Any final thoughts on SpongeBob before we move on?
Yeah, I feel like he probably, once again, in the same vein that the Colonel from the game has like anime
Hot
abilities.
Uh-huh.
I feel like SpongeBob also has like that cartoon ability where it will be amazing no matter what.
Right, there is a magic to it. Yeah. Makes me want to go to In-N-Out. All right. Do you have another?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Do we think how good do you think the chef from the menu
Oh, okay. I was literally going to bring up this guy. Yeah. Okay, so I think his name is Chef Slowick.
Yes.
Okay, and he's portrayed by Ralph Fiennes. Mm-hmm. Rafe Fiennes. And yeah, okay. So the menu, fascinating. I think I was definitely hungering for a movie like this. Like, you know, when fine dining was getting so out of hand, is kind of out of hand in some ways where, you know, you have no mud, you're taking a thing, Ralph Fiennes, taking a thing where you gotta spend thousands of dollars for one meal. You know, it just sounds crazy, and like the pictures of stuff. So there had to be kind of like a weird horror or whatever satire of it too. I think let's see, in the movie itself, I'm sure he's like good. It seemed like the character is very much like an amalgamation of so many of these fine dining chefs, where it's like he has this story where he came up in a kind of humble way, and then he made these really refined things, and he's blowing everyone's minds, but he's kind of mysterious. So you don't really know what's going on in his head, and then it turns out he's evil, right? But yeah, so or whatever, or I guess his mission. He has an interesting mission that's a little more complicated, but he's certainly like out to just cook his diners or whatever. So.
I know, yeah.
Spoilers, sorry. But it's been out for a while. So yeah, I think he's like legitimately interesting, but part of me, I think, had very high expectations for that movie. So I still think of it in certain ways where I'm like, ooh, I think they could have done this a little bit better. And maybe it's just because we're nerds about restaurants and shit.
Yeah, well, I was really like blown away. I like the movie.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What were your kind of like
very,
thoughts?
very minor stuff. I feel like, maybe my expectations were super high, but I felt like and I've heard this from a few, I feel like the ultimate conclusion was kind of muddied by the fact that Anya Taylor-Joy is maybe miscast. Yeah. Like, she's a great actress and did great in that role. I think she was supposed to be from humble beginnings, so she got it from him. But when you're looking at her, I think we think of her as like this high fashion lady because she looks so.
I agree
specific.
With that. I've heard that note too. I've got that.
That's
too,
like
where
the
it's
only.
Like, well, it was, and not even just that, but like it was this thing that everyone kind of saw it on her. Like, like that was such.
No, exactly. That it was supposed to be part of her look.
Everyone would see her and be like, "Oh, you don't," and it's like, well, then I wouldn't pick like one of the hottest actresses.
Right, yeah. Ever. And she kind of has had these she kind of has this accent that is hard to pin down. It's kind of.
I would even argue I wouldn't have put it in a white actresses.
Sure,
because I think there's a fun like element of just the kind of inherent like racism and bigotry that comes with that attitude, and then kind of looking at this white person and being like, which I get. Like, I wouldn't want to. Well, I mean, they had like other people of color there. John Leguizamo was there, but like, I think it would have been interesting to see, and I think it would have been like, I think it would have tipped what they were going for with like Nicholas Hoult more if you just kind of saw him mismatched with someone where you're like. Why would he be with this person?
Sure. Because you assume the whole time, like they seem like kind of they could be a couple.
Yeah, like that felt like a real one, and I get that also. He was doing that on purpose because he's trying to like subvert because he had to come with someone. It had to be like his girlfriend like broke up with him. But I think there is like an element there where I can see that. But I think even with that, I kind of got that out of the performance, but I think it could have been pushed to the next level if you got someone who just had a little more of a gritty look.
Sure. Yeah. And I think, other than that though, I do feel maybe I was almost wanting more, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think like, cause there's, and again, we're nerds. We have this podcast. We love watching competition shows and going to fancy restaurants, but I think maybe just that whole exploration of that type of world and, the Hung Chao's character, like I feel like I want to know more what's going on with her, and then what drove him to do it. So maybe I wanted more of like a series even, but it was I think what they ultimately did with it's still in my mind. Like I only think I watched it once, but I have a lot of the images that they put into it. Like I can remember a lot of it, so that's a good sign.
And I think that's why I kind of like that they left so much on the table, because I think that was the point, right? Like I think the most predominant kind of point of that is like the Nicholas Hoult kind of death scene. Oh, right. Like everyone's always like, what did he like? If you look it up, everyone always is asking what. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, it isn't that he whispered anything. It's the idea of a person like this who, like, I think he says it himself, is like, this is someone who thinks they get it.
Sure.
Because they're such a fan of it.
Okay,
That was almost like the mirror on people like us, even though that,
sure,
because I feel like we do a good job of being like, no, we don't.
Yeah, ultimately we can't do that.
We're comedians, but I do think there is an element, especially when you go to like Yelp or you see people talk about food online, and there's this like condensation in the way that they discuss different fine dining places. And you like look at them and they're not someone who knows how to cook. And it's like, where do you, and it's not that you can't critique things that you can't do, that's a part of critique. But I think there is like a level there's like an approach, I think, that you have. Like there's critiquing and then there's kind of being like an asshole. And I think that Nicholas Holt's character was such a good kind of example of like, and when this person was put to the test and came to this thing that he looked up to, he was whispered all the reasons why he is not who he thinks he is, and he would never amount to that. And that was enough to send him over the edge.
Yeah. No, that was great. I feel like his whole thing where he's like trying to kind of show the like signal to the chef that he knows a little bit more than other diners. Or he's like, is there a bergamot? Is this bergamot? So that was I remember that being very funny. Just everybody kind of knows that type now, and I feel like that's very much of a thing too, even in like it's like when people I don't know that it's now like become a type, or like it's become a whole hobby for people to really go to these restaurants and really think they are part of it.
Is interesting when you look at the evolution of it and how it happened. Like the idea of a foodie. Remember when everyone was like, I'm a foodie, and it started originally. I feel like the first kind of time I heard people referring to themselves as foodies, it was food trucks. Like they loved hunting down food trucks.
Right,
it wasn't necessarily like the fine dining yet. They loved the food trucks. They got into it, and like any interest or hobby, as you get more into it, you are comfortable spending more money on it. So it was the natural progression was fine dining, and it was the same energy carried over into fine dining. It's the reason why a place like Inaka is hard to get seats. Also, it's just like small. Like once I went into Inaka, I was like, oh, this is why, because you can only fit so many. But I think it's like, and then like when you talk to other people who are interested in food about it, it's like, ooh, you've been there, and that's
sure. It's like a shared experience, another exclusive experience.
And it's another nerddom where and with any nerddom, there becomes a point where like you get past the line of appreciation to the point of like obsession, and then you get this hubris where you're like, oh, I know because I'm seeing it all. Like I'm ingesting it all, and they're just doing it. I see it in the way when you have a comic fan talking about comics and trying to like say all the things they feel like should happen, but they're not writers. They don't. They don't understand, or like, it's like, because it's this like interesting dichotomy, because I like the fact that people are getting so interested in their interests that they want to like break it down to a science. I think I just don't understand the step being skipped and somehow making it to the point where like the people that they've looked up to or know are like the experts or the top of their field, and they're like, but I know more because I'm reading it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, I think I remember I can't remember who said this, but it was something about like you can like study so much about violin or something. Like you can like learn everything you need to know about violin, reading, listening to it, watch as many hours as possible. But like you can't, it doesn't mean that you can pick up a violin and play it tomorrow. Yeah. So it is really like, oh yeah, that is the case. And of course we know that about even like stand up. It's like very. That's the one thing where you kind of can't really practice in your room, let's say, even. You got to take it on stage, and then that's the whole thing. So, I mean, so it is kind of funny. But yeah, back to the menu, too. Yeah, I do think, like, they depict those depictions of the kind of snooty different versions of the patrons of the, like, whatever clients were great. And I think, and they had, like, the guys, those like finance bro guys too, where like the stuff was printed on. That was really the tortillas deliciosas.
Yes,
that was a good line. We do love that. But yeah, I mean, as far as chefs go, I think he was definitely the right conglomeration of like what that type of guy.
And also,
is depicted as.
Obviously, they had like a real chef. I forget the chef, but that did the food modeling for it.
Oh, cool.
But all the dishes were amazing.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, that's a good thing to know. I didn't realize that, but it makes sense. A professional had to come in and plate that, make sure it looked like a real thing. I can let you know who
it was. Dominic Crenn.
Oh,
is who?
Shout out.
Yeah. It was designed by Ethan Tobman with Chef Dominic Crenn Consulting. So like, yeah, you had like, a real deal chef, but even then, like, I just like, just a burger, because, and that's why I think I really like the menu, because I think it really, like, even with the critique, the like, poking fun of, I think the message is good. And I think the message is kind of what we're all about, where it's like, at the end of the day, we should be more concerned about consuming good food, like all the other, like, BS around it.
Sure.
Trying to use it as like a point of status, trying to like, unravel it and feel like you're an expert, trying to, use it to kind of posture yourself as a celebrity, at its core, it's like focusing on the food, the meals. What
that emotional moment is eating that. I mean, okay, then maybe this brings it home by saying I feel like that's a big thing for Ratatouille, so I'm very excited for you to watch it, because basically, I mean, the plot a lot, but one of my favorite characters, the food critic in that, Anton Ego, he's kind of one of those guys who's highfalutin, being all like...
Yeah, I mean, his last name is literally Ego.
Ego, yeah, it's very clear. But he's criticizing the food and trying to be he's up on his, like, whatever mansion, kind of looking down on everybody, that sort of feel. But when Remy cooks him ratatouille, which is a dish that is like sort of I guess they call it like a peasant dish. That's a peasant dish. What are you doing? But like he elevates it, but it's basically that base. And then Anton Ego, he takes a bite and it transports him back to his childhood when he was just coming home from school and kind of sad, and his mom would make him a great dish, so it's sort of that thing. And we see it all the time on Top Chef, and we see it all in the menu, of course, right? Where it's like, at the end of the day, people just want to eat great food, and the memories and like the coming around the table that reminds you of is like where it's at.
Yes, indeed.
So with that,
I
think
the end
this
of
is
that
we've covered everything. We've covered every chef ever. No, but there's plenty more. There's plenty more.
Let us know what your favorite chefs are. Who it is. Do you think Ratatouille is actually a good chef?
Yeah. SpongeBob. What's the secret recipe? Actually, is Colonel hot as he is, or does he have to be animated?
Speaking of which, do you watch Binging with Babish?
Oh no.
It's really great. Okay. Binging with Babish is this chef who like recreates a lot of things.
Oh yeah, I guess I've seen some, but yeah.
And so Manny, a friend, Manny Hagopian, who I knew through like UCB, went on. He wrote on Titanfall. Titanfall 2 was the lead writer for Apex Legends, and there was a pork chop recipe that was like made for the game, and he made it. And so then, but Manny was upset because he felt like he got the measurements wrong, and so that's what made it bad. But then even with the measurements right, I think it might not be as good.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But that is such a great idea for a show. Yeah.
Can I quickly pitch to you guys that if all of the chefs you've named, if they all fought on some sort of Top Chef, who would win?
Oh, I feel like it definitely would be Chef Slowick.
I think so. I think it would probably be Slowick might get in his own way is the thing. He's probably technically good, but maybe he's, losing his mind because somebody didn't play right or something crazy.
I feel like it'd be between Slowick and Remy.
Remy is more level-headed, but
I think SpongeBob would not be able to elevate, he's just beyond,
just there for morale, and
he made a Krabby Patty into a pizza. And
and they're like, do you have anything else under your? Do you have anything else to offer us? And he'd be like, not really. One trick pony. Yeah.
The chef of the Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, Colonel Sanders from the game
was just horny.
He's just there to get some people in bed, and that's his only goal. So that's okay. I mean, he's a winner in his own game.
Yeah,
So that's good. But yes, that's great. That was a great way to wrap this all up.
Yeah.
We look forward to hearing your thoughts. I'm sure this was a divisive episode.
Yeah.
People probably are wondering why we didn't talk about Monica Geller from Friends.
Is she a chef in Friends?
She doesn't really come up that much, I would say, for how much that is her work. But anyway, yeah, so who knows? Let us know what other fictional chefs you've been following and if you think they're also good at what they do. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to our bye week. We will be back next week with a actual episode to cover from MasterChef. All I know is I think it's called Mystery Box, which they already named an episode Mystery and Mrs. Box. Yeah. So who knows if that's even the case. But thank you, and thank you to my co-host Iffy and Mike. Hope you're excited to be married, and we'll see you next week to discuss. And yes, thank you. And then I got to read the outro, which I don't have on me. Sorry.
That's all good.
All right. If you like this podcast, share it with someone. But also, please go to MaximumFun.org/join, where you can support us for as little as $5 a month or more, really. It helps us out. We really appreciate it. And, we love our members. So thank you if you are doing that already. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, again, about other fictional chefs that you would have wanted us to cover, or, hey, what about Remy? Is he actually a good chef, or is it Linguini? Are you Team Linguini like Effie is without seeing the movie? Drop us a line on Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League and follow us. Or send us an email at chef@MaximumFun.org. If you're doing your own MasterChef Fantasy League with your friends, please tag us and tell us how you're doing. For full unedited episodes, you can check us out on YouTube, and you see the whole visual, the new set. Thanks again to my co-hosts, Iffy Wadiwe and Mike Cabalon. We'll be back next week. TV Chef Fantasy League is a Maximum Fun production. Our producer is Valerie Moffat. Our engineer is Gabe Mara. Our theme song is by Dylan Van Auken. Our artwork is by Sabrina Volante. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at TV Chef Fantasy League.